taking steps to fix its financial headaches. Countries across the European continent have been dealing with problem after problem, from Spain's bank rescue to Greece's political upheaval and debt troubles. If Europe fails to fix itself, it could drag down the rest of the world. But yesterday, the president of the European Commission called out the United States, saying this crisis didn't begin in Europe.
This crisis was originated in North America, and many of our financial sector were contaminated by, how can I put it, unorthodox practice from some sectors of the financial market.
He added he is not blaming anybody, and it's time for world leaders to work together. A senior White House administration official says that European leaders are right now working on a more forceful response to stabilize their financial system, and the United States Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner said he's encouraged by what he's heard from the Europeans today. Here at home, stock markets jumped on hopes that the Federal Reserve will soon make moves to stimulate our economy. We also saw signs of healing in the housing market. The Commerce Department reports builders requested more permits for new homes last month than at any point in nearly 4 years. But there was some discouraging news on jobs. The Labor Department reports U.S. employers advertised the lowest number of jobs we've seen in 5 months. 3.4 million openings in April, down from 3.7 million in March. If you consider the number of unemployed people in America, that means nearly 4 people are competing for each open job position. When the job market is doing well, there are usually just about 2 people competing for each opening. Still, the Dow ended the day up almost 100 to close at its highest level in a month. The Nasdaq up 34, the S&P 500 up 13. Continuing coverage of breaking news from the last hour, the ousted leader of Egypt, Hosni Mubarak, declared dead today by state television there. Reports were his heart stopped in a hospital and that it did not respond to a defibrillator. Authorities quickly revised that report. Now, officially, the 84-year-old is in a coma, being kept alive artificially by a respirator. All of this after Hosni Mubarak reportedly suffered a stroke in a prison hospital. Earlier this month, Egyptian officials sentenced the former president to life behind bars for failing to prevent the killings, the protesters calling for him to step down. Those protesters succeeded last February when Egypt's Arab Spring finally pushed Hosni Mubarak out of the post he'd held for 3 decades. Right now, it's early Wednesday morning in Tahrir Square, and you can see the crowds that were there in the last few hours. They are waiting for official word, and new layers form to what is threatening to become a new chapter of unrest and political power struggles. There is uncertainty about who would succeed Hosni Mubarak and whether any successor will actually wield any power. Leland Vittert with the news live early this Wednesday morning in Cairo. Leland.
Good evening, Shepard. Here in Cairo, there was a loud roar that went up from behind me in Tahrir Square when that rumor went through that President Mubarak had suffered a heart attack and possibly died. Right now, it seems as though that rumor was untrue. The only thing we do know for sure is he was moved from the prison to a military hospital. The 84-year-old was the king of the Arab world, a key to stability here, an ally of the United States and Israel, but could talk to anyone. He was thrown out after just a little less than 3 weeks of protest, and it was perhaps a coincidence, or maybe the ousted leader just couldn't take the embarrassment anymore. But this right now, as Egyptians are waiting for the results of the election for who will become their new president, it looks like the Muslim Brotherhood candidate has the lead right now. There were mass protests in Tahrir Square earlier today over the fact that the army dissolved the democratically elected parliament. They also say, the Muslim Brotherhood does, that the army has staged an effective coup and made their candidate, Mohamed Morsi, who will probably take the presidency, totally ineffective and simply a figurehead. Presidential election results are expected on Thursday. What, if any, effect President Mubarak's current health crisis will have on the situation here in Egypt is very unclear, as is the future of Egypt right now. The situation as it stands, though, however, the last time we had a big protest right here in Egypt was when they tried President Mubarak, convicted him, and sentenced to life in prison. The demonstrators, Shepard, wanted the death penalty instead. Not a lot of tears will be shed when he eventually passes.
Leland Vittert live from Cairo. Here at home, the former Penn State University